Hello, everyone. We have made it to week 8, our final week in the course. This week, we are looking at chapters 4 and 5. Chapter 4 highlights ethics in public community health nursing, and chapter 5 is covering diversity. So, in chapter 4, we talk a little bit about ethical decision making and how that involves making a decision via an organized process that takes into consideration ethical principles, client values, and professional obligations while also addressing multiculturalism and diversity in society. So, ethical issues are challenges that we do face in our profession, and sometimes these challenges are consistent no matter the type of nursing that we are in. But then there's also other challenges that we face that are more specific to the type of nursing that we are engaging in. Finally, ethical dilemmas are problems where a person, group, or community must morally justify their actions for either taking action or not taking action in a situation. So, one of the probably biggest ethical issues that I face daily in my school nurse practice is how to maintain patient or student privacy in the health room. Um, my health room is a pretty open concept or design. I do have a treatment area, but that door is a solid wood door. So I take students in there to see them, but the door has to remain open for safety purposes. So that means that the students just outside of the door, sitting waiting for me, are really hearing my entire conversation that I'm having with the student. I've asked about having my door switched so that there is a window in the door so that the door could be pushed shut to help with that. But, I'm not behind a closed door by myself with a student. There would be that window that's there. But for safety and security purposes, that change cannot be made. So I kind of have to justify to myself why I'm doing what I'm doing and why my students don't always have privacy and be creative in how I can create that environment that I need to if there's something sensitive going on and that sort of a thing. So that's like a something that I have, like I said, struggle with every day. And I do have some creative solutions that I have utilized, but I don't want to share those right now just in case anyone else wants to talk about that as a challenge that they face too. And you can let us know how you overcome that, and then I'll see if that comes up in our chat for the week, and if not, I can throw it into our discussion board. So then moving on to chapter 5, we are reminded that the US continues to become more diverse. So it is super common for the nurse and the patient to be from completely different cultural backgrounds, which poses a challenge for us as nurses to ensure that we're delivering culturally competent care. I think right now, probably one of the biggest challenges that school nurses are facing from a cultural consideration is immigrant health issues. And in school students specifically, we're talking about and thinking about vaccination compliance. As our text highlights, there are legal immigrants, there are refugees, there are non-immigrants, and there are unauthorized immigrants. There are language, financial, and cultural barriers that have to be overcome in a short period of time so that children can be enrolled in school. I think as school nurses, we have to be able to provide culturally competent care, which means we have to continue to educate ourselves about various cultural backgrounds. Sometimes we may be the voice of advocacy for these families. So if, maybe a classroom teacher or somebody feels that something is strange or doesn't understand why a student is acting the way they are, we as nurses who are versed in different cultural backgrounds may be the voice that says, hey, I think that this is why this student or this family may be doing this. I think it's more of a cultural thing, not like a disrespectful thing. I don't think I understood the importance or valued the importance of cultural nursing assessments until I began working as a school nurse. I think it is very easy to kind of create cookie cutter opinions or stereotypes about different cultures, and it's important that we do remain open. And it's okay to maybe in your head generalize these certain features or characteristics of a culture, but at the end of the day, we really have to assess that particular family to see, yes, they may be from that cultural background, but maybe they don't identify or practice all of these, generalized ideas. I kind of like to think about it as generational differences. When we think about generations, we all are in one, and there's some like stereotypical ideas about each generation. But when we get to know people and talk to people, we come to realize that, well, just because they're a boomer doesn't mean that they hate technology and they can't use technology, right? Some boomers hate it. Some boomers really enjoy it and thrive in it. It's the same thing when we think about cultural differences. We can't just generalize and go off of those kind of stereotypes or typical characteristics that we read about. So this week, we do have our final discussion board for the course. Again, we need APA citations and reference lines. Your original post should be 800 words minimum. Your response, again, should be 600 words minimum. I do want you to be really honest in this week's responses, but also be kind in your responses back to each other. We're all opening up kind of about struggles that we face in our health rooms with maintaining privacy or maybe facing some assumptions that we ourselves have developed. So it's just kind of, we're just being really honest. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, so here is our week 8 discussion board. We are talking about how students' privacy is maintained in the health room and within the school system. How often are other students hearing our conversations that we have? Are there times that teachers have inadvertently accessed health information that perhaps they shouldn't have because it wasn't properly entered in the health record? And we're going to talk about the steps that you can take to ensure that privacy is maintained and include challenges that you do face or have overcome. And then the second prompt is to recall a meeting that you had with a student or a student's family whose culture differed from you and discuss the following. Did you have assumptions about the student or family due to their cultural background? Did your assumptions impact the interaction or the nursing interventions? Were your assumptions accurate? And did you have preconceived notions about the situation because of cultural differences? If you have not necessarily had this encounter in a school setting, that's fine. Just note that and maybe talk about a time when you have had that type of an interaction in a different nursing practice setting. So that is our final discussion board. That is exciting. We also have due by the end of this week your mandatory course evaluation that is down here. If you can just take a few minutes and go through that, I would greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you so much for your patience as we have gone through this course together. I am still here for you if you have any questions or concerns about this week's assignment or anything else. I am here for you. Send me an email. We can set up a Zoom. Otherwise, I wish you the very best as you are continuing on with your courses and in your school nurse career. Thanks so much.